Hi, welcome back. My name's Lily. This is Small Talk. So, way too hot for tea. Boris Johnson has been made Prime Minister of the UK. Well, actually, when he speaks to the Queen later on Wednesday, today, then he will officially be Prime Minister. But he was voted the clear favourite in the Tory leadership election. The reactions have ranged from hallelujah to holy shit. And because it's Johnson, not many people are sitting on the fence with their opinion towards him. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to talk about what happened in the Tory leadership contest, why it's different because we do have an international audience, just to let them know what was going on within the party and how we got Boris Johnson as Prime Minister as we do now. Then we're going to talk about the fallout from that, what to expect in the next few days as we have a transition of power, and then what to expect in the next few months. Because what does this mean for Brexit? Remember, that's still supposed to be happening. And why are people talking about a general election? So, after Theresa May couldn't get her Brexit deal passed for a third time through Parliament, she resigned to pave the way for a Tory leadership election, to announce a new leader of the Tory party, a new Prime Minister who would be able to deliver Brexit. 10 MPs put themselves forwards as candidates, and these were whittled down through a series of votes by the other MPs. We were then left with the final two. That was Jeremy Hunt, who was Theresa May's Foreign Secretary. Who knows if he will stay on? He may not be the current secretary while you're watching this video. And he was a Remainer, clearly, originally, but he did go to supporting Brexit because it is the wishes of the party. And then Boris Johnson, who of course won. That vote was held on Monday the 22nd and was announced on Tuesday the 23rd. Boris won an overwhelming 66% majority of the Tory membership. Okay, so the people who voted in this election are only Tory party members, not even supporters, just Tory party members. It works out at about 165,000 people. Johnson won the contest in resounding fashion with 92,000 votes, but that's still under 100,000 people who have voted for him, which is why he is up against a lot of opposition within Parliament. Furthermore, 20,000 Tory members spoiled their ballots, so didn't count for anything. That is quite a large percentage, 13% of the overall selectorate that was able to vote. Okay, so let's go through the timeline about what happened in the week that Boris has been announced. So that's this week. On Tuesday, it was announced that he'd won. Tuesday evening, he needs to finalise his cabinet, which should have been done by Wednesday. Then on Wednesday, it should have been made easier because there were a lot of resignations predating his announcement that he had won the race, and also in the immediate aftermath. The rest of the resignations should have been completed by Wednesday afternoon after Theresa May's final PMQs, Prime Minister's Questions. The Chancellor is also expected to leave. We'll talk about the resignations in a moment. Then on Wednesday afternoon, Boris Johnson is going to the Queen, who will ask him to form a government, and then he will give his first speech outside Downing Street. Now, this will be the first speech to the public, and it should give us an idea about how he expects to proceed. Obviously, his premiership cannot just be about Brexit, so I imagine there will be some domestic policy goals thrown in there, maybe a nod to the escalation in Iran that we've been seeing develop over the last few days. But anyway, most of it will probably centre around Brexit and getting that delivered. I don't know how much substance there will be to there because there are a lot of technical issues that have not been accounted for, and the EU has stayed firm with their side of the negotiations. But expect the word optimism to be bandied around, along with probably the word spirit. Now, following Thursday's transfer of power, Parliament actually now closes for summer recess and will not reconvene until 3rd of September. So we have to wait and see about what's going to happen in this flurry of action in the next few days, or if the real drama we're going to wait to start again in September. So back to those resignations and why they are important. So with Boris Johnson imminently set to be Prime Minister, the resignations have already come in thick and fast. At the time of filming, it was confirmed that 5 ministers who had already resigned or were planning to resign by Wednesday after Theresa May finishes Prime Minister's questions. 5 ministers is a huge amount. It also includes the Justice Secretary and the Chancellor of the Exchequer. All of these ministers have signalled that they will step down or have already stepped down because of Johnson's commitment to no deal on the 31st of October. All of these ministers believe that they cannot serve their constituents or continue as ministers while they oppose that eventuality. Now, much as Theresa May spent a lot of her premiership looking over her shoulder at arch-Brexiters like Jacob Rees-Mogg and the European Research Group, possibly Boris Johnson will have to do the same with a new emboldened Europhile wing of the Conservative Party, or at least not Europhile, but certainly against no deal. They have signalled that they would vote against the government if it means blocking no deal. And this is huge for the success of Boris Johnson's plan for Brexit and plan for his own premiership. As we know, the UK was supposed to leave the European Union in March of this year. That was then pushed back until April, and now it has a final date of the 31st of October, Halloween. Now, Boris Johnson has said he will stick to this date, do or die, come what may. That means that he is banking on either the EU renegotiating the deal, which he has called many terrible things, and which Parliament really does not support, or by leaving on no deal and WTO terms, which does not have parliamentary support either. Now, the EU has said it will not reopen negotiations on the deal that it agreed with May. It points to the fact that this was a negotiation between the United Kingdom and the EU, and that whoever becomes the new Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, must respect the terms of the negotiations. Various EU leaders have come out in the last few days to reaffirm the commitment to the withdrawal agreement that has been previously negotiated. So, Johnson has backed himself into quite a tight corner in committing himself to no deal, which is something that seems extremely unpopular in Parliament. There had been this floating of the idea of proroguing Parliament, something that we all had to swat up on since it has not been mentioned in years. But Parliament has passed an amendment that effectively would make the suspension of Parliament, which is what to prorogue it is, illegal before the 31st of October. So essentially, this has been the week where everything changes, but everything also stays the same. Sure, the personnel has changed, but the situation which they inherit has not. The EU is sticking to what it has always said, and Parliament seems more ready and mobilised than ever to make this new government's life very difficult when it comes to Brexit, and especially what they say is protecting the United Kingdom in the case of a disastrous no deal. A major problem for Boris Johnson is the razor-thin majority he currently holds with the Tory party and the DUP in Parliament. Now, in the 2017 snap election, Theresa May lost the Conservatives' majority in Parliament. And furthermore, they had to count on a confidence and supply agreement with the DUP of Northern Ireland. Now, in the last few weeks, one MP for the Conservatives has had their whip withdrawn against sexual assault allegations. Furthermore, the Tories are contesting a by-election on the 1st of August, which they expect to lose to the Liberal Democrats, a newly galvanised Liberal Democrats. And that means that their working majority will be one MP. Add the Europhile MPs who are adamant on bringing down the government in the case of a no-deal Brexit, or faced with a no-deal Brexit, then Boris Johnson does not have the maths to get no deal through Parliament. Now, both he and Jeremy Hunt ruled out calling a general election, which they are entitled to do so before 31st of October. So Boris Johnson has said he will not call a snap general election before the 31st of October. Then again, Theresa May said the same. However, there will be calls from the opposition benches, and let's have a look at what they can do. Well, they can table a no confidence vote. That would either be this week or in September, to set up an election either in September or October. Now, that still doesn't leave much time before the Brexit deadline at the end of October. Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party, has already said that he believes that Boris Johnson does not have a mandate to pursue no-deal Brexit, that he will protect against it, and he will call a no-confidence measure when the time is right. As always, keeping his cards close to his chest. Boris Johnson has every reason to be worried about a general election. Remember, the Tories lost their majority in 2017, and that was without the Brexit Party. Now, the Brexit Party is paying close attention to make sure that Boris stays strong, or has courage, as Farage said, to keep to the 31st of October deadline. If they see weakness, they are sure to exploit it. Furthermore, on the other side, the Lib Dems are enjoying a revival in the last few months, especially since the European elections. They've positioned themselves as the party of Remain, since Labour has had a slightly muddled message on Brexit, and the Lib Dems have been able to sweep in and take over the Remain vote. Now, however you feel about Boris Johnson, it's safe to say he has inherited a huge job on a historical scale. He has really very little working majority in Parliament, and he's facing a political situation that the EU and the UK have not been able to rectify in the last 3 years, with a deadline of 100 days. You can expect the Irish backstop to feature heavily in these first few weeks. We have various videos on the withdrawal agreement, on no deal Brexit, and on the Irish backstop. So if you liked what you saw today, sorry for the shake, please hit the red button and subscribe, and come back to check us out for some more.